you're
The
in
reason
violation.
something, the reason something
Ultraviolet.
like the reason something like Pantone even exists is for consistency. So presumably, if you're getting a product made at three different manufacturing plants at three different places across the world, and you're using Pantone colors, the idea would be that those colors are exactly the same. Where if you're doing RGB values, those colors might not necessarily be the same, depending on what type of RGB spectrum you're using and what is determining the RGB value and things of that nature. So that's why in the manufacturing space it's so big, because you don't want products coming off the line that are, one is a little bit more grayer than black, and one is a little bit more blacker than black, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, but to me it sounds like Pantone is a relic of an era where communication wasn't freely available, right? And so you had silos of copies of that. But now you can get 3, 4, 10 parties to agree on some open source scale of color, right? So it really, what will be interesting with this going forward is this going to solidify Pantone as a leader, or will it kick it in the ass?
The answer is yes, and I'll tell you why. Because the places that are using Pantone have invested tens of thousands of dollars, and they're not going to drop that. Just they're not gonna drop. They've got so much invested in it already that I don't foresee them changing. I mean, it's possible.
They have invested, but it also means that all of their customers suddenly need to invest in it, right?
Well, the customers have already invested in it. If you were
yes and no.
Yes, I mean, if you're building this if you're having this made at a manufacturing plant and you're the designer of this, you've already invested in the color slates for this product. Now, not this, probably the specific.
Not necessarily
at Harbor Freight. Well, I from what I understand about it, I disagree. I think that is what is used for color.
But I think, Gal, I think what you're missing here, though, is if we're going to come up with a new standard, open source.
There is already a standard. It's RGB.
There are.
RGB is the standard, and that's a Pantone color is just an RGB.
Okay,
and it's used.
But it's because the library is being a Pantone library in Photoshop. That's the problem now.
It's not just Photoshop, though.
It's others.
But no, it's not software either. If you're building if you're molding plastic, the color that plastic, which when it's heated up is a liquid, is color match. That's what it's coming around. This is not just RGB values in Photoshop or Paint.net. We're talking about physically molding products or powder coating products with a color, and that's where that value is the industry standard. So whether you've got a company in China that's powder coating something, or a company in the United States that's powder coating something, if they're using that standard, the products will look exactly the same. That might not be the case if you're doing something else, depending on what is used to generate those colors.
So here's the thing. This feels very familiar. In what term? If we go back to the late 90s, right? Then beginning of 2000, we see the music industry trying to sue the creators of MP3, right? Because it suddenly allows to freely avail music in a very, very easy to distribute manner, right? They're suing Napster, and they're suing the users of Napster. And eventually, right, they did a lot of damage, but eventually, right, what changed was music, and in this case, it's going to be colors, right, has become very easily, very cheap, considering how the industry worked before, right, to everyone. It has leveled the playing field for the distribution of that data. And so here we're coming from an older world, right, of color swatches. And now there is this leader in the industry who is asserting their dominance suddenly. And I'm not saying Adobe here, they were the altruists who helped society, right? That's far from reality. But we're talking about somebody trying to assert the dominance. And to me, it feels, I don't think they're needed anymore. But this is the challenge, the final challenge that will show if their dominance is true or not. Because maybe in the digital age, their dominance was provided by the fact that they were ubiquitous through something like Adobe. And now, just because they can't get to a licensing agreement with Adobe on that, right? It feels like this is going to see who is Goliath and who is David here, right? In this in this play, it's an interesting one.
Here is a question that I don't know if anybody can answer. So you buy Photoshop today, and
you subscribe to Photoshop today. You're not buying.
Right. You subscribe to Photoshop, and you starting from scratch to create something. What colors are you going to be using?
Not Pantone, for sure.
So, you'll be using just the regular You'll be using just the regular Photoshop RGB color scale that they've come up with.
Okay. Are these colors any different than what in their look than what Pantone colors are?
Some are, some not.
Okay.
But they don't have a name associated with them.
I understand.
So if you call somebody on the phone, right, and say use this and this color, then you need to designate it by its exact address. It's a bit like DNS.
Okay.
Oh God! Come on! Don't bring up.
Hey,
I had a lot of respect
even
for you.
colors.
Come here throwing up DNS like it's nothing. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate that at all.
I think people need to not freak out as much about this whole color thing because I think Nick said it earlier. If it's linked to it, like the software is not going through your image and taking out each individual color that you don't pay for or whatever. It's probably a linked service, and then it just breaks the link. So
and if it's really that big of a deal, just subscribe and pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's
or you get an older version of Adobe.
No, that's the thing. It's retroactive. Even for older versions, somehow they're turning it off.
No,
are we going to have?
It needs to be an old version that doesn't phone home to the network. There are those, right?
Yeah, true. You could. I mean, presumably you could run CS8 or whatever.
I can see it now. A whole army of predatory lawyers running late night TV ads. Was your color stolen? Did you have a T-shirt that you made in 1968 and now somebody else is using the same color? Well, we're here to help you. You can make money.
Better call Saul.
That's it. I wonder if there are people who are actually cataloging a Pantone color and saying, well, what is the cross-reference to the specific formula, so to speak, in Photoshop? With it, like you said, it's a DNA. You're going to see a string of variables that give you that color.
Right.
So is there a cross-reference now that no, you can't use that one because and are they going to have to scratch them off the color chart in Photoshop?
Well,
it's weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see how that develops.
Amnon, the color in your background, the gray is, I'm sorry, it's already taken. You have to remove it.
Yeah, it's all going to turn black. Everything. All right. So here's something. Chrome will no longer support Windows 7 nor Windows 8.1 upon the release of Chrome 1.10, currently scheduled to hit stable on February 7th, 2023. From that point on, you'll need to be running at least Windows 10 to maintain access to new builds. This is coming from Android Police. While Google won't be doing anything to stop users of older platforms from continuing to install and run earlier release of Chrome, they'd be missing out on the latest critical security and usability enhancements.
And there'll be an open source group that will provide an
Probably.
alternative version, the way you take the risk
Yeah.
of using it, etc., etc.
Talking about
With an open source project like that, that's really what it comes down to, right? It's not Microsoft
Yeah.
deciding not to provide because it's closed and you don't have access and all that. So it's interesting, but
I don't know.
it's also funny, I think, that
We'll see. But talking about Windows 7, and I mean, I still have 2 machines using it. No, 1 machine. Sorry. No, 2. Yeah, that's 1 too. Here is an interesting situation that happened today. One of my customers called and said that they got a notice, a text file. I mean, a text message that somebody logged into their bank account
Okay.
at 12:20 in the morning when he was asleep. So he changed the password. A few days later, again he got that somebody logged in to their bank account. Nothing was changed, nothing was stolen, but it was changed. So he called and he said, "What do you think?" I called the bank and they said that I probably have a keylogger on one of my machines, that somebody is just picking it up. I said, okay, so run Malwarebytes, run Defender, run any program that you can. So he did at the office and didn't find anything. I said, so you're using it from 2 machines. What's the machine that you have at home? He said, it's a Windows 7. I said, well, you need to do it there too. And Windows 7 does not have all the security stuff, and it could be.
Only that, Windows 7 is susceptible to some really nasty rootkits.
Okay. So first,
even scanning won't show it up. So.
First thing first, he asked the bank, and that's a business. He asked the bank about 2-factor. They told him that they have it for the higher price plan, whatever. And I said, well, I've got just the standard one. We're using the same bank. I said, I have it. So we sat yesterday. He was at his house. I was here. And we got it to work. It didn't work first. For some reason, it wouldn't send him a text. I said, okay, put your phone number. He got a phone call with the code. I said, okay, now try it. And suddenly it started working. But the bank told him his account does not have it, which is ridiculous.
Hold on. They might have a tier of accounts where you can get an actual physical fob with a rotating number.
Okay.
And that requires an additional.
Okay. But no, he was talking about 2-factor, 2FA. Now,
yeah, but
this bank
that used to be called 2FA. Yeah.
This bank says we don't support 2FA. We support MFA, multifunction. Okay, I said, well, maybe that's where, these are bankers. They're not techies.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, it's working. He changed his password. And also, I told him, I said, he did not want the browser to save it. And what the hell? I hate this. Okay, so we're talking about virus and whatever, and here comes Defender telling me it's the first time I see this on the production machine. Didn't find anything. Why did you check now? Anyway, so I told him, I said,
you have Cortana search. You said the word, and Cortana started searching.
I don't know.
Cortana doesn't exist.
I don't
anymore.
have Cortana.
They removed it.
What is it called?
They removed it. They killed it.
Well, I always disable it on machine.
Oh. Well, I mean, I always disable it too, but still.
So I told him, I said, I let it remember. I'll let the browser remember it, because if you don't type in the password every time, a keylogger has nothing to do. It's right. It's there. It doesn't even know that it's there. It's when you type each keystroke, it captures them. But if you remember it, and it's the browser just enters it in there, autofill, then nothing would happen. So I said, okay. So he changed that also. And then I got a text from him, an email from him today that's saying that he got a text that somebody put the wrong password. Somebody was trying to log in with the wrong password. So but of course now you have to have also the code that goes to his cell phone and all that. So it's another added thing. But it was interesting that twice he changed the password and somebody, not him, found what the password is and entered. I told him, I said, look, you're going to have to update Windows 7, because I wouldn't do any financial or anything important on Windows 7. If you just want to use it to browse and there's nothing on it that you care about, it's fine. But not to do this kind of work. But I told him, I said, run it anyway, because you want to find out if there was a keylogger, which I can see that there wasn't. And he didn't use.
I don't know.
And he didn't use. And he didn't use a simple password. He used a phrase with a few words.
So here's the thing, right? Even if there is a keylogger, it means that somebody, a human being, right, took the data and tried it out.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem likely. It's somebody he knows. It's somebody that knows the password. Or it is something of his that somehow automatically accesses.
Well,
right? That's my guess. It's like there's Mint, the service, where you put in your credentials and it pulls the bank records and show this for you, right? This is automatic. You put the credentials there. So it's something of that nature. It's something very, very specific to him. So that's why
I don't know.
I doubt a keylogger, unless somebody is, actively eavesdropping on him, which is not very likely, right? It doesn't really matter what type of business you're running. It is so rare. So,
but anyway, it's. I know that the two-factor to go to your cell phone. I mean, people can get your number. It's but it's better than nothing.
But again, two-factor with a cell phone, right? The vulnerability is within the cell supplier, the cell network supplier. Yeah. The vulnerability there, if there is any, is human beings working in the cell company service that can clone your SIM, for example, right? Again, very unlikely. You need to be highly targeted in order for something like that to actually work.
But for people like us talking about it,
for most people, if that's the only option, use it.
We think, hey, it's not safe. It can be broken. But for the regular person, for the lay person out there, use it. Absolutely. It can't hurt. It's not exposing you to anything. But
even if it can be broken, still use it. It's still better.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. Yeah. So it was interesting that the bank said no 2FA, but actually there was multiple. Do you want us to text you? Do you want us to call you on this number? Or, I mean, the numbers had to be there. He said, can I change the number? I said, I hope you cannot, because it'll be, it's not worth anything.
You can. You need to log in. You need, I don't know the bank system specifically, right? But you usually can, and it requires like approval from here and approval from here. And you need there's a whole set of authentication, of cross-referencing authentication. Mm-hmm. It should be safe.
Yeah, but the thing is that if somebody already logged into his account, where I'm assuming, then they can add another number. And if it
The
wasn't
most
working,
important thing to change when something
Yeah.
get hacked, right? The most important thing to change other than that password is your email password as well.
Yeah.
And it's a pain because usually there's multiple
Right.
applications that are
Right.
connected to it, and there's some, maybe some automation, but always also change your email password, because it could be that the way that somebody gained access in the first place is through your email. Because you can reset passwords, you can delete the emails that were sent and all that. That still
he
happens,
did not
right?
have email. He had cell and text. I mean, call me or text me.
You are talking about the MFA enabling.
Yeah.
But you still log in, and there
Oh,
might
oh,
be
I see.
an
I see what you
authentication
mean.
process.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
I forgot my
yes,
password.
yes,
Send it to my
that's-
email.
yeah.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You can't change your phone number easily, but you can definitely change your password to your email easily. So
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
by the way, for Gmail users, actually not sure about Gmail so much as I know about Google for applications. So if you have the enterprise version of Google, even if you deleted mail and removed it from the bin, the email is still recoverable for, I don't remember how many days. So there's a it might be also for Google. I'll find it after when we move to the next section. But there's a way of recovering deleted email. And so if you are suspicious that somebody logged in and deleted the notification that you get via email about previous logins, there should be a way of even finding that. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll
Good to
find
know.
that and I'll share it here.
All right. Nick, shall we start? Shall we go for the specials?
Yeah, make sure you refresh your page.
I did.
Because I update. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I updated it like 5 minutes ago. So
Let
refresh your
me-
page again if you
let me
would.
refresh.
And yes, we can get into specials whenever you're ready.
There we go.
So this picture was posted in one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and this is a managed service provider that took over a customer's IT needs. And they said they found this under a desk. Now, immediately I saw this and I thought that the post was just them complaining about a 4-port switch under a desk, but it was in fact not. It is actually, if you can see, that black cable is looped back into the switch itself. So whoever did this, likely the end user, not the prior IT company.
Right.
The white cable is the uplink from the wall port, and somebody has cross-connected and created a loopback. I'm surprised the network still worked or works at all.
Yeah, that's
This is unfortunately very common in the IT space because something gets unplugged and users just see an open port and they'll just plug whatever in and not trace the other end. So this switch is doing literally nothing but creating a loopback.
right.
Well, I'm guessing that this specific switch actually did nothing, period, because
Hopefully.
it probably detected that both ports are within its namespace and didn't. So this is actually good, because this is the difference between a switch and a hub. If it was a hub, it was chaos, right? Because it creates noise, a loopback feed. Because it's a switch, they're probably cut off, and they're not making noise to the uplink. So
Yeah, but it's still
they got lucky.
ridiculous.
that the network worked.
Yep, I've seen issues like this. We had a crazy amount of time troubleshooting weird sporadic network issues, and very often it was a
Yeah, that
switch
can
or
be
something like this that somebody I didn't realize. Yeah, so on and so forth. All right, let's move on to old specials here for this final Sunday of October the 30th. This is a really great deal over at Staples. So this is an Asus VivoBook 15. We've had a couple of these VivoBooks in the past few weeks. One was a 13-inch and one was a 17-inch. So here's the middle. This is a 15.6-inch laptop running a 12th gen processor, which we've talked a lot about. It's an i3, the i3 1220p. Unfortunately, it only comes with a stock 4 gigabytes of RAM, but it is upgradable on this device. It's got another DIN so that you can put more RAM into it. Comes with a 256 gigabyte solid state drive, and it is running Windows 11 right out of the gate. This is normally a $500 computer. It's on sale for just $270.
Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk each week about looking for professionals to help you grow your business. Drago and his team at Oak City Tech are those people to help you get your message out to your current clients and hopefully a bunch of brand new clients. It's loud and crowded there, so you need a team like Drago's to do that. Go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week here on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. In their surrounding towns, each week about 31 chapters, around 520, 525 people get together, and we just help each other grow their business. And our local small business success story this week is Earl Bullard with Bullard Insurance Solutions. Earl is Vice President of Cary Connections. They meet Monday mornings at 8 a.m. at Hope Community Church on Buck Jones Road. So if you're ever in the area, want to meet some really good Cary professionals and have a good laugh or two at 8 o'clock in the morning, Earl's group is it. Good morning, Earl. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Good. You off to a good start this morning?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir. Hope it is for you.
All right, so far, yes. Earl does insurance, and man, do we have myths left and right about your industry, Earl. What kind of people? My God, they're boring. They wear wingtip shoes and coat and tie all the time. But that's kind of changing from back when our parents were in the insurance company, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Thankfully.
So what got you into insurance? Because I don't know that many people, I'm sure some do, but I don't think many people, that's probably a high school thought or sometimes even a college thought, is it?
No, I don't know anyone who did it on purpose. I really don't. So I was a teacher back in the day, and my first cousin, he's an insurance agent as well, and he talked to me. He said, "You're looking for some part-time, some side gig, side hustle income." So he taught me into getting my life insurance license back in about 2014, and that's what started it. And I went and got the rest of my licenses about a year later, and here we are today.
What was the attraction to even pursuing that as a part-time hustle?
The flexibility, that was the main thing. The flexibility of having your own schedule, making your own hours, but also the idea that I think a lot of times in our industry, some people may want to hide the fact that it's technically commission based, and I had never had a job where the harder I worked, the more I could earn. They'd always been clock in, clock out salary type gigs, and those are great. But that was something that for me was really attractional. It was just the idea that, hey, if I really wanted to get out there and, make X amount of dollars, take the family on a trip, then just work harder.
Yeah, I always tell people that small business ownership is not for the faint of heart. It is stressful freedom, and it's usually both of those each day, usually more than once a day. You get one of those. You have to be able to take a leap of faith on yourself, and you have to be risk aversion, right? I think is the phrase that people use. Was that an issue with you to go out on your own?
No. No, and I don't say no thinking it probably should have been more so. I've got a little bit of, I think, daredevil in me just from younger days of trying to figure out how to, jump down flights of stairs on skateboards and whatnot. So it was just the idea. It was more of a challenge. And so, but it's one that I'm acutely aware of, but it never really kind of scared me, I guess, if that's the honest answer.
Yeah. We could tell you what insurance world is like because we know everybody knows 10, 12 insurance agents. We know we need it, and we've had numerous insurance people on the show here because in each BNI chapter, it's called the firm, financial seat, the insurance seat, the realtor seat, and the mortgage seat. So there's at least 31 insurance agents in Triangle BNI. I bet you there's probably about 45 because like you are in your chapter as a commercial insurance agent, and you have 3 insurance agents in your chapter, so there's a bunch of them. What do we think we know that we really don't know that we need to ask a professional about when it comes to insurance?
That's a good question. So, I mean, on the personal side, there's a lot of misnomers. People get caught up in kind of just the language that gets used a lot, like full coverage will be example for auto insurance. Full coverage, we would say probably technically is not the best way to say that. There's always exclusions, and knowing where they are. One of the biggest ones is when people have small businesses and understanding where their personal lines coverage stops and where a commercial policy needs to start. So your personal policies assume that you're not using your property or your tools or your vehicle to make money. So, for example, you have a lot of kind of rideshare services. Well, that's technically it's a temporary taxi service. So there's a lot of people who make assumptions that there aren't exclusions and there aren't these fine print things. I think that's the main thing in today's market that I think is worth saying. And then for small business owners, so if you're a contractor and you've got an employee who's a roofer and you've got 2 employees that are in the office, make sure your workers' compensation accounts for the office workers and they're not getting charged like they're roofers. Because a lot of people they just don't take the time to fine tooth to really design it all like it needs to be. I think those are the main 2 things. Making sure you know where your personal exclusions are if you're just mainly a personal lines person. But then if you're a commercial account and you're a business that's really operating with general liability, professional liabilities, workers' comp, commercial auto, things like that, making sure that you've taken the time or that you've sat down with an agent to take the time to make sure that it's actually written appropriately, which oftentimes saves you money, not adds more to it.
Yeah, and a lot of times when I talk with small business owners, we'll talk about insurance, talk about a number of things, but one of the things is insurance, and usually the answer is, oh, I have that. That's kind of half the answer, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is.
And some, I ran across somebody a couple weeks ago that there was a part of business insurance they didn't feel like they needed. And I always think, did you call somebody? And one of the neat things, and I tell this all the time, that I've learned in BNI is to shop local.
Sure.
Some of your competitors, well, you came from Farm Bureau. So just within that company alone, you had at least 40 competitors in the triangle, just within your company, right? Don't even worry about all the other, agencies and stuff like that. Easily, right?
I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but sure. I've got a lot of good friends.
You do, but everybody's out there, they're trying to sell insurance just like you, so we look at them as competitors. And then a lot of times I will hear independent agents in a BNI chapter say, I want to meet anybody that has insurance from one of the national TV commercials, Geico and, all those. And they're funny commercials. I enjoy them, Aflac and, all those. But one thing that's drawn me to BNI over the years is shopping local. There's certain things I believe you need a phone number to call and ask for the person by name. And I always felt like insurance was one of those.
Yes, I completely agree.
Because you get... I may call, if I call you and ask for you on a Saturday, I know you'll answer the phone and we'll make sure, whatever I have going on is going to get taken care of. Versus some of these other national ones, I may get somebody in Topeka, Kansas on Tuesday and get somebody in Seattle on Friday. And, they may read the system and go, oh, you have this, but you got to explain the whole thing in. So I enjoy the relationship that agents have with their clients, and I'm sure that's part of the attraction of the job for you, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's the being able to help real people in real scenarios. And I think that's a part of it that it's funny because insurance, I've always kind of made a point to say, well, I can be the first to admit that insurance can be inherently boring. It's a big surprise to a lot of people out there, I know, but it's not always the most exciting thing in the world. But if you're dealing with folks who have real scenarios they're dealing with and real circumstances, it's never the same thing. And even when it is the same thing, there's always still variables that change. So it's a good time in that regard.
Yeah, in the stories when I'm visiting a chapter and the insurance agent happens to be the 10-minute speaker, it's those stories of somebody they've come across now because they didn't have insurance the hour before they needed it. And, we've been on here talking before about, obviously, appropriate coverage, full coverage, whatever the word is, but getting what you need and then an umbrella policy and I know you've seen just these horror stories of how quick somebody can burn through a $150,000 insurance policy because of an accident or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's staggering because let's just be honest. Most likely, you nor I nor the majority of the people we know are ever going to have a really bad claim scenario. Most of us never will. However, it's funny. Not funny, but it's something I've seen true is that there seems to be this kind of low level claim scenario, which may be the fender bender or totaled a vehicle, and as bad as those may be, those can be relatively small. You get these claims that are 10, 15, 20, $30,000 or whatnot. But then it seems like the claims, they either go from this low amount, relatively speaking, and then there doesn't seem to be this big middle ground, at least from my experience. They're either relatively small or they're astronomically huge. And that's where things like proper coverages, umbrella policies, those excess liabilities that a lot of people, let's just be honest, self included, I don't like writing the check for my umbrella every year. But in the event that the brakes don't work in traffic, I may need it. So
yeah, and thankfully we've never had any issues with insurance. We've not run into anything bad, so I'm thankful for that. But we've always had the insurance we've needed. Except, and I've told this story before, this is going on about 5 years ago. I bought my brother and I still had our commercial cleaning company, and so I needed something to carry, some equipment, a couple of vacuum cleaners and things like backpack vacuum cleaners. And so I'm such a hip guy, I bought a minivan, and I love minivans. I can sit up high. I got room to carry people. I love it,
Sure.
And when the place I bought it from, the guy said, "Do you want gap insurance?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." And it wasn't 5 weeks later. I'm driving through a neighborhood one day, getting out up near Briar Creek, getting out to the interstate. And it was probably 9 o'clock at night, and there were some kids just hot rodding through the neighborhood, and they never stopped at the stop sign and just T-boned me. And I'd never been in a car where the airbag has employed, and that's a scary thing because I thought I hit something head on. And I knew I was in the street, but my mind was like, wow, you just hit something head on. And they were horsing around, and that difference between what I bought the van for and the total price of it cost me $5,400. So I just begged people pay, and the gap insurance I think would have cost me $300 maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So buy gap insurance, but it's things like that we don't think about, like you said earlier, until we really need it. But I was so mad that I got hit that hard because I just rolled out of the car and just laid on the ground. The cop came over. You all right? I'm like, yeah, just collecting everything in my head. So. But then, stupidly, not $5,400. So I always tell people, call their insurance agent, ask 3 times, and just, make sure you have it, because one time you don't have it, you really wanted it. Because I really did like that van. I'd just broken it in, the seat fit and everything. Made me mad. So, Yeah, the insurance thing, it's funny. Well, you also talk about 10-minute presentations and elevator pitches. You should try a commercial cleaning. Try to make that sexy, right?
Yeah. There's some things there's just no hope for.
I learned the first chapter I was in with when my brother and I had the commercial cleaning business. It was my turn to do the 10-minute presentation, and that industry is built on before and after. Not a good thing to show during lunchtime.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Learn the hard way. So,
oh, that's great.
All right. So one of the things you've done in the past, which I'm intrigued by, telemetry surveillance tech at Wake Med.
Oh man.
All right, please. I'm pretty certain I know what it is, but please explain what that is.
That's just monitoring heart rhythms. That's all that is.
I like the title though. That kind of jazzed it up.
Yeah. No, I mean that's all it was. So all throughout college and grad school, I worked in the hospital at Wake Med and worked in the heart center and in and around the heart center floors, and it was a lot of fun. Almost went the medical PA or doctor route, just because I'm a nerd and I don't think I can handle not going all the way if I go a certain route. But yeah, it was a really good experience, and then I really, really enjoyed it. Learned a whole lot, and there's some skills that, if I ever decide this is nowhere near exciting enough, I could probably jump back and get a gig doing something like that.
So a patient would come into Wake Med, and what was your role in all that?
Well, it would certain parts of it would be, part of what I did more in the onset was working like in the cath lab or the EP lab where they would do stents, catheterizations, pacemakers, defibrillators, things like that. And then also just working on the EKG machines, and people come in with chest pains or whatever, helping make sure that their heart rhythms are correctly identified, and if there's anything changes that you alert the PAs, docs, nurses, whoever it may be, and just kind of part of that team. So it was actually a lot of fun. I love the medical field. There's a part of me that could easily probably go back and try to go back to school and learn some more stuff in that world a lot.
You just enjoyed some of those machines, didn't you?
Some of them were kind of cool. Yeah. I like intricate stuff, man. I was an engineering major my first year of college, which turns out that the engineering major mind doesn't help you sometimes in if you're in a quote unquote sales environment.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of who I am, and that's definitely spilled over into how the agency is run too. We're into comprehensive things, getting it done right. So sometimes we don't rush through stuff. So sometimes that means that we're not the perfect fit for every shopper or whatnot out there. But we're very comprehensive, and you mentioned umbrella policies. We push for those kind of excess on everything because that's just kind of who we work with, is who needs those usually. But.
And last week you and I had a cup of coffee downtown Raleigh, and we're talking about your seat in the chapter as commercial insurance.
Yes.
And back to your point about having to deep dive into breaking stuff down and seeing what's right, the restaurant is completely different than the Uber driver you mentioned earlier, right? As what'd you call it? Something taxi?
Yeah. I think in this industry, I've made it a point to usually not use the brand names because I'm always afraid someone's going to sue me for it.
Yeah, there you go.
But you have the liberties I don't in that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. What do I care?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But those two businesses are completely different.
Completely different. Yeah, it's so funny because so much about commercial insurance, the principles remain the same as far as how liability works, how property works, when you need liability exclusions, when you need to make sure that you have what we call in industry risk transfer agreements are put in place to make sure that if you have multiple partners working together on a job site, you can think of a construction site with a general contractor and subs, that everybody is protected from each other's work.
Yeah.
But even though a lot of those principles are very transferable, the application of the principles, whether it's a restaurant or a food truck or a roofing company or a taxi company, the application can be very different.
And you do like insuring food trucks. I do remember that from the meeting 2 weeks ago. Have you picked up any good ones lately?
Yeah. There's been a few fun ones lately. Yeah, food trucks are they're just fun to me. Yeah, I just got off the phone right before our time today. I was on the phone with a general contractor type company, and we were talking about different kinds of policies. And I always say food trucks to me, they're like the hippies of the commercial insurance world. Like, it's just it's fun, and it's so different from the normal boring, and it's so cool. So yeah, I love food trucks.
I would sense that there's a little piece of you that would think that would be fun to do for a while.
Yeah. Anything, and I've jokingly told people, I think this comes from growing up in the Nirvana generation, where we just want to do our things our own way,
Yep.
And to this artistic side of me that just, you give me an opportunity to do something that's even within the umbrella of a bigger industry, and you can tell me I can figure out a way to twist it a little bit and do my own little way, put my spin on it. Yeah, we're going to have fun. We're going to have a blast, actually.
All right, so what would the food theme be for Earl Bullard's food truck?
Yeah, man. All right, so I love more kind of Mexican food and Asian food. So it'd be some kind of a fusion between all that, hands down. I don't claim I could do it. I'd have to hire a chef because I can't really cook all that well. But it would be something that mixes those two, spicy, hot, extra zesty seasoning. My wife makes fun of me because I always ask her for, like, let's have something zesty for supper. I just love spices. But yeah, it'd be something in that world, man. It'd be fun too.
Yeah,
any investors out there, hit me up.
There you go. It's funny when you go to a restaurant or somebody's house and they say, "Hey, try this," and you ask, "Is it spicy, or does it have a kick to it?" However you phrase it. And like my brother-in-law who lives in South Padre Island, Texas, loves the peppers, jalapeno peppers.
Yeah.
So his answer is like, nah, not much of a kick to it. Whereas I'd bite into it and just start sweating. So it's always interesting to figure out who's on what side of what.
It took me very few times to learn that when you go out for Thai food and you get like the 1 through 5 and spicy, you don't say 5. Like, I've learned that for my own sake. Like, I can't handle the real spice, but give me about a 2. I'm good. maybe a 3 on a good day. I don't know.
I could see you with a food truck. You hire a wonderful chef, so they're busy cooking everything, and you're working the front window. You're the carnival barker. You're just talking to everybody, aren't you?
Yeah, that would be me. We'd have fun with that.
And I could also see you at a food truck rodeo, getting to know all the other food truck owners and swapping ideas and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I like the Mexican part of that. I don't eat a lot of Asian food. I'm sure I would like it. I'm sure I probably have and just really didn't pay attention to it. But, man, I moved to Texas right after I graduated college. I'd never lived there before and hadn't eaten much legitimate Tex-Mex food. And, man, from August 1983 till today, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I could eat any of that. But anyways, at the restaurant, at the coffee shop we were at the other day, and feel free if you don't want to answer this. I don't want to lead you into question and get you in trouble. But I'm walking on the sidewalk to go into the restaurant, and there's scaffolding right there. They're doing something somewhere. And the nice lady, I asked her what's going on over there, and she goes, I have no idea. And so now it makes me think, I'm walking under the scaffolding. Who insures me walking under the scaffolding?
That could be a very a diverse answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it could.
No, and that's the thing about just any kind of a contractor job. So we think about usually plumbers and HVAC and stuff like that as carpenters as the contractor world, but that's part of it too. So I mean, if it falls apart, you can really think about anything in the contractor world. And this goes to a lot of different other insurance types as well. But think of a stream on a mountain. It always starts somewhere. And that's usually the head contracting firm or general contracting firm, or sometimes it's an architecture firm. And then it goes down. So you go down from there to maybe a project manager, to maybe this artisan or that artisan. And so if something goes bad enough, everybody can get brought into it, which is why we talked about the risk transfer agreements a few minutes ago, to make sure that everybody, if you got a project that has 10 different entities or 10 different businesses working and one of them messes it up, well, then you have risk transfer agreements to make sure that the other people don't get involved. get brought into a lawsuit.
A lot of finger pointing on that day, isn't there?
Yes, sir. There's more than either you or I would ever want to be a part of that conversation.
The other thing I learned as I got to know insurance agents and talking with them is, and I believe I have this right, so correct me if I don't.
Sure.
Let's say I'm getting my house painted, and I contract XYZ painting company.
Yep.
And they come into my house to paint the den, and they slip and fall and injure themselves. That, I believe, that falls under my homeowner's policy.
It probably could be attempted to get it under your homeowner's policy. So the way that we always would encourage our clients, so anybody who does that from the homeowner's side, is anytime you have a contractor on your premises, and that could go down to the person that mows your grass too, ask for what we call a certificate of insurance.
Yep.
I actually I've had a client in the past few years where their neighbor was helping them mow their grass, and their lawnmower happened to catch on fire right beside their farm equipment.
Oh.
And it all burned away. So, those are the type of things where if you've got someone you're hiring, now we just mentioned a neighbor that was just doing a social service, right? Just being a friend. But if you have someone you're hiring to do work, request what's called a certificate of insurance. Anybody who works in the contractor world should know that. They should know that language better than they know it. Should. And that's what I've told some people when they say, well, what do they, if I ask them for this and they say they've never heard of that before, I was like, well, maybe you should, ask Facebook for a good recommendation. No, but so I would always say, always get a certificate of insurance. General liability is always needed. And then I'm a big fan of everybody should probably have some sort of workers' compensation.
Yep.
And make sure that the COI, the certificate of insurance, actually comes from the agency that insures the person, not the one they've had in their back pocket since 2015. That's worse. That's worse point now.
Yeah. I would venture to say that the majority of people who have work done at their house have never asked their vendors for a certificate of insurance.
Yeah, you're right.
And I hope nothing ever happens. And again, the answer to your question is, what if they don't have it? Then say, sorry, can't do business with you. Because you need to be protected too. And they should know that. And if they're a reputable company, they're going to be properly insured, I believe.
That's right. That's right.
Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to ask Earl something. So somebody that just rides around and cuts a loan, the loan, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
What would it cost him roughly to have insurance for a year? Because most of them, I'm sure, do not carry insurance.
Yeah.
There's probably most probably don't.
Yeah. So what are they looking at for their benefit?
There's a lot of variables, but for the general liability, probably somewhere around $500
a year.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yeah.
Just yeah. And if somebody shows up, and I may be profiling, so forgive me if I am, but if they show up in a non-lettered vehicle,
maybe not.
Maybe again, maybe not. But people just need to ask. The moral of the story here is you got to ask,
right?
And if they're bothered by that, that's a huge red flag.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And and it's one of those things. It's a shame. It's a shame sometimes because it costs money. It costs money to do business. You know what I mean? Whether we write any insurance this week or not, it costs us money to be an insured, have lights on. It costs money to do business. But a lot of times, I think people don't think that they need to think about that stuff because no one's ever told them. And that's the thing. You're talking about like a non-lettered vehicle. I mean, there's all kinds of exclusions on a personal auto policy to where if you're pulling a trailer that's over X amount of pounds, or if you've got a full landscaping crew on the back of your truck, like an auto policy, a personal one could refuse not to pay too. So I mean, there's a lot of times I'm convinced, and maybe this is me just trying to be an eternal optimist at times, but I think a lot of times those situations, it's usually not always people trying to fly under the radar. Some people just may not know how important it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm with you. All right. We like that. So Earl, how local are you?
How local am I?
Yeah.
So I'll give you the real close answer and the real big answer. Yeah, I mean, I live in Benson, so I'm in that part of the world. When I go home at night, my office is in Cary. I'm at my sister agency in the McGee's Crossroads area right now. So we serve really the Greater Triangle area on a very local level. Now, personally, my personal furthest client away is in Pennsylvania. We've got plenty of other states that we write business in. So, yeah. So I've heard someone coin the phrase "glocal" a few years ago. Yeah, you can be globally local because of things like Zoom and things like that.
I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah,
Glocal.
yeah. No, it's not original to me, but yeah. So that's probably, so we're, depending on how people want to define local, we're a little bit everywhere.
But you are from here.
I'm one of the 3 people who's from Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's how local you are.
There's 3 of us, and I'm 33% of said population.
Because I fall into the local adjacent.
Right.
Because we moved here in 1974 when I started 7th grade. And then in 1979, I went away to college, moved away for 30 years, but came back. And Raleigh's always been home. So I'm not from Raleigh, but I've been connected here since 1974. But there are a lot of people that are not from here.
Yeah, man. But I love it though. Like I love the culture that comes from various areas, and being in insurance agents usually don't complain about growth and influx coming in from out of state. We're a big fan of that.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people moving here for you. You could probably have a nice year just grabbing 2% of all the people moving here, right?
Yeah, 2% would keep us busy. We couldn't handle anything else.
There you go. So what does the R stand for in R. Earl Bullard?
Randall.
And why are you not Randall or Randy?
Yeah, well, my dad was Randy, and this is a really funny story that I tell you, I live in Benson now, so this just gets those roots. So my dad and his friends, my dad's Randy Bullard. When he and his friends went to get their license, apparently the lady at the DMV was Betty Earl. This is back in the day. And they all became, their first name and middle name Earl was a nickname. And I'm the one who got my dad's nickname put on my birth certificate.
Oh,
so he was Randy Earl, and I just became Earl.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, dude, it's great. We've got enough stories that have been duct taped together like that.
So
great.
Betty Earl at the DMV started this.
Yeah.
She kind of named you, didn't she?
She was a part of it, man. She's a part of it. Yeah, she may hear this one day, and it's nice to meet you, Miss Betty.
Were you ever RJ or Randy to start out, or just Earl from the moment they saw you?
No, my mom told me, she tried to call me Randy one time when I was a kid, and I told her that my name was Earl.
There you go.
If there's ever a phrase I should have licensed or copyrighted, that's that one.
Oh,
we live and learn.
Yeah, they'd have had to pay you for the show.
yeah, we live and learn.
Earl, do you have another brother, Earl?
Yeah.
No, it's just me, man.
Oh God, there you go. Me. That's the other line out of that. I forgot about.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, man, it's kind of like for the name Earl. Like all the social references are never like usually cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, a Dixie Chicks song.
Yeah. Earl has to die.
yeah. I mean, it's usually it's not ever distinguished.
Yeah.
And but I think that I've had fun embodying that for the last 39 years. It's been a good time.
Yeah, we've known each other just for a little bit, but I'm picking up on that more and more each time we hang out. That you're like, yeah man, bring it. I got something for you, but just go take a shot.
Life is serious. I don't claim I need to be.
Yeah.
So let's have fun with it.
So how long, let's stay with Earl and Benson and all that good stuff. How long is the beard at its longest, was it, and when?
I don't know, man. It's funny. I forget that I guess it's not normal. It's been longer than this, but every now and then it gets a little too cool. It shows up on too many Pinterest walls, and I got to go shave it just because, it goes that thing where all of a sudden it's like everybody on like, I don't know, everybody's like in these flannel shirts
Yeah.
and long beard and long hair. And I was like, all right, again, I come from the Nirvana generation. If it gets to be a fad, it's got to go, man. Yeah.
If everybody starts liking your favorite band that hardly anybody knows, you're like, I'm out.
Yeah, that's me to a T, man. That's me to a T. But I have learned that whenever I decide to shave my beard, this is not the time of year to do it because you get really cold. It's no one would have ever convinced me how nice of a insulation this really was.
Did you have that in high school?
No. I had some sideburns because I thought I was cool. I just long sideburns.
And now that you look at the pictures, were you?
Darn right.
There you go. I like it.
No one would have agreed with that. No.
All right. So your wife, Kayla.
Yes.
You two have 3 daughters, which just brings up 10 minutes of comedy right there. I mean, we could start with you and I laughed at to heck with college, just start saving for the weddings.
Right.
I always like to ask folks on the show that are married. So how did you and Kayla meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
We probably don't tell the story the same way, just because I'm a horrible storyteller. But no, we met at a college that I used to work at and teach at before I became an insurance agent, and had a lot of the same kind of friend circles for a long time, and then that's kind of how we met. And she would probably have way more like illustrative examples.
Wait, that's it?
That's it. That's all I got, man.
Dude, you got to bring some game next time.
I have no game.
All right,
My name's Earl. I live in Benson. Dude, there's not much that can be brought. It's me.
All right, so let me help you on this, okay? All right,
Sure.
where and when literally do you first remember seeing her?
In Dunn. Yeah, in Dunn, a handful of years back.
All
Yeah.
right. Where were you? At Dunn. What?
I'm trying to think. So the college I taught at was called Heritage Bible College.
Yep.
So somewhere in reference to there.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you first talk? How did you get introduced to her?
I have no idea.
When did you first talk to her? Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember?
No, because we had different friends groups.
Okay.
You know, so I got it was somewhere along the lines of all that.
Do you
So
remember you had to remember when you first asked her out, right?
Yeah. That was probably, I don't know, 2016 or 17.
All right. And in the Hoppin suburb of Dunn or metropolitan of Dunn, where was the first date?
The first date. It was somewhere in the Raleigh area because I think there was a time where I thought it was cool to show her around Raleigh because I grew up riding my bike and skateboarding in Raleigh and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And she's from the metropolis of Newton Grove. So it was this really cool thing, like just, showing her like some places where I was as a kid. So probably just riding around somewhere around the NC State campus area or that neck of the woods around Wake Med and all that area. That's where we lived a lot, or at least my grandparents are from.
Do you remember how long it took before you thought, you know what, this may go somewhere?
I don't know, 6 months, give or take.
You are horrible at this game.
Hey, I don't claim to be the best at this.
You do remember your anniversary at least, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, it's inside my wedding ring, I think.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a
Oh, she knew you, so she put it on the ring.
yeah, no. She's great, man. She's great, and our girls are great. We're pretty blessed. Very
And
thankful.
she obviously is an outdoorsy person, right? Because I know you are.
Kind of. My real outdoorsy friends would say that I'm not, but
Oh, okay.
like I've got friends who think it's fun to go hiking with bricks in a backpack. Those are my outdoorsy friends.
Okay.
I like to stay somewhat close to the air conditioning, but yeah. No, my wife would probably definitely. She loves like gardening and being out and doing all this kind of fun stuff, and it's a good time.
What's the best thing about I raised 2 boys, so what's the best thing about being a girl dad?
Being a girl dad, the best thing about it is just and this may be the same thing for being a boy dad. I don't know, but especially our older two, they're 12 and 10, and they're that age where they're kind of coming into their own. We got a 4-year-old, and she just runs the house, and she thinks she's in charge of everything. She's like a little chihuahua running around, you know. But our oldest two, they're in that spot where they're kind of finding their own thing, and they're finding the stuff that they're really good at. But they're at that point, they're that age point where they don't know if they want to like go out and show the world what they're doing, because someone may say that it's, you know, it's not as good as they think it is. But they're coming out of their shell. So I don't know if that's a girl dad thing, but just seeing that sparkle in their eye and being able to be like the dad affirmation of it is really, that's my favorite part. And again, that may not be unique to the girl dad. I don't know.
Have you prepared for that first car date that comes to the house to pick up one of your daughters for that date?
Yeah, we've prepared for it. We bought extra land. We made sure that there's plenty of ways to have that conversation to make it as terrifying as possible. No, our 12-year-old actually got invited to a school dance by a young gentleman not too many months ago, maybe 3 or 4 months ago.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was fun because I took her, and you know, like it was pretty fun. It was cool. We got good kids. They got good heads on their shoulders. So I think we're probably gonna be safe.
Yeah, Bill Engvall, the comedian, had a great line talking about, I think it was one of his daughters, had a guy come over to pick her up to go on a date, and he said, I looked at him and said, I'm not afraid to go back to prison.
Right, yeah. That's right, man.
Now, when we were talking last week, one of your daughters is the daredevil that you are. And
yes.
Tell the story about how she hurt herself recently.
Which time recently? Okay, so yeah, my
The
12-year-old,
steps.
she's broken her arm 3 times, but she decides steps are just these things that are meant to be challenges for her. So it's either slide down the rail, jump down the steps, whatever she may do. So yeah, she jumped down a flight of stairs at church and landed on her foot the wrong way. So she's in a boot right now. She's on crutches. We go to the doctor here in just a few hours to hopefully get her off the crutches and she can put some weight on her foot, but almost broke her foot, just really bad sprain. So she ain't scared of nothing though, man. Like, she's not afraid of anything. The last time she broke her arm, we were at a skate park skateboarding, and she fell. And it's one of those things where you could tell like she felt it, but she was like, no, I'm good, Dad. I'm cool. So we just kept skateboarding. Then we went walking down by a river, and she's got a broke arm, but she's hiding it very well. So she's just tough, man. She's crazy.
And that's a plus when it comes to dating, because you know that if some guy says something wrong or crosses her, he's going to pay dearly for that, right?
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about all 3 of our girls. None of them are pushovers.
Good.
Which I love.
Good.
You know, so they probably would get in trouble for yelling at someone else or something more. And I don't think anyone's gotten in trouble for getting in a fight. But yeah, they're not pushovers, man. And it's great.
But now, how proud a dad would you be, and how much would you brag to your buddies if you get a call from one of your daughter's school and she had pinned a guy up against a locker for saying something wrong to a friend of hers?
Oh, dude, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, a few years ago, we were at a birthday party, and it was our oldest. They're 12 and 10 now. They were probably 3 or 4 years younger. So it's been a couple years ago. The whole COVID vortex of time really throws all the points of reference off. But we just heard from screaming across it was at a gym, like a gymnastics place. We heard yelling, "Don't say that to my sister." And it was one of them, like, putting this little dude, poor guy, probably scared to death. But she put him in his place.
Yeah.
And it was like, high five, kid. Yeah.
And that word gets around fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's really good.
And your daughter that hurt her ankle, being the daredevil that she is and the daredevil that you are, you can't really get mad, and do you kind of tip your cap and just move on to the next one?
I kind of do. Yeah.
Because what are you going to say, right?
Yeah. We got to rein her in sometimes, but I mean, because she's just 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I mean, yesterday she was trying, or whatever, Saturday or Sunday, one of the days this weekend, because her foot wasn't hurting her. She was trying to pretty much sneak and grab her bicycle and go riding her bike around with her broke foot boot on. We're like, kid, sit down. You calm that back just a little bit, man.
Now, is she super cross, rappelling down mountains potential? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, I think so, and that terrifies me. As much as I was always a daredevil, I'm afraid of heights, and that's actually something I've thought about. I was like, I hope she doesn't like try to be one of those free climbers that just sees a cliff and thinks, oh, for some reason I need to climb it. You know, just between the insurance agent and being afraid of heights, that's just a horrible idea. That's not a good idea.
Does she know jumping out of an airplane is doable?
Somewhat, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That may be on the list one day, right?
Yeah, I think it'll happen one day.
And she'll tell the pilot, can you go higher? After the first jump, can you go higher on the next one?
Yeah, probably so. Probably so. Yeah, probably so.
Or she'll want to fly the plane. That'll be the other thing. She'll take flying lessons, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But three of them in the house, 12 to 4, and they all get along pretty well?
Yeah. All things considered, they get along really, really well. They all kind of have their own things where they want their space, and you know, we're really, really thankful. Everything's great.
Do you have a sister?
No, it's just me.
So this is all new to you, isn't it?
It is.
All right.
It is.
How many times have your fingernails been painted?
Only a few, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the 4-year-old gets a lot of that that I would have probably gotten, but yeah.
Yeah, because I have my wife and I have 2 boys, and we have a grandson. Now we have a granddaughter, and she's 11 and a half weeks old. And I've told people whenever she wants to get into that, she wants to paint mine, hey, have at it. I'll go to a meeting and say, who's got it better than me? Just show all the colors.
That's right, man.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to, because with Oliver, we get excavators and garbage trucks. I mean, I'm in that world knee deep with him. When we hang out, when we get together, he and I'll get up early and have breakfast and then sit and watch YouTube videos of garbage trucks and excavators and things like that. So I got that down pat. But can't wait to see what Maggie's interested in.
That's awesome.
That'll be a lot of fun. So,
yeah.
All right. So somebody's a business owner today. What's the first thing they should do with regard to their insurance policy now that they're smarter than they were 45 minutes ago?
Really, just sit down with someone. Sit down with someone who cares. Who cares? That's really the thing I like to say. You know, I've got a lot of really good friends in this industry. You know, I've got areas that I think I do really well in. I've got areas where I don't think I'm the expert, and I've got friends who are the expert in that. So I say find someone who understands their business, what they actually do, and then someone who's willing to take 30, 45 minutes, if need be, an hour. I had an hour and a half exploratory conversation with a new client the other day to figure out exactly what they do, what they need. Yeah. Find someone who is willing to do that, and then I would say to the business owner, be willing to do that. Good insurance agents are going to take time to ask you questions. Like, we don't operate like vending machines per se. So I always say, take the time to sit down with someone, and find someone that you trust, get some good references, good referrals, and then kind of have the actual conversation. Because I think a lot of people, we have our initial point of reference is from our personal lines policies, which for most of us be our home or renters or auto insurance, which many times can be quoted very quickly. You know, if you've got all the information, you know, you can quote it really, really quickly. Commercial, though, sometimes you can quote it really quickly and sometimes you can't. And there's a lot more conversation with underwriters. It's not just when you plug it into a computer and let it spit out something. But sometimes we got to go back and forth. We need to make sure that the right coverages are in the right spots, the right endorsements are there, or the right exclusions are there. Or if there's an exclusion we need to get put back, make it there. So I'd say make sure you find someone who's knowledgeable in your field, or understands your business. That doesn't mean that they know how to run it, but they understand what you need. And find someone who's willing to take the time to explore those options. And then I'd say trust them. I'd say trust them. You know, as a business owner, I think a lot of business owners think it does them well to go have the same conversation 5 times with 5 different agencies. Maybe do it 1 or 2, but that really actually doesn't really help, because find some people who are good and just work with them and trust them.
Yeah, and don't let somebody sell you their product because you have a, 1,200 square foot storefront. Oh, well, here, we have a product just for that. Lee,
Right.
I'm with you, man. Don't let them do that. Make them ask you questions, understand what you need. And if they don't want to ask you questions, that's a red flag.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes there is a product that's specific, but for the most part, it's not always that cut and dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is one of the areas where I think an agency like ours that represents a lot of different carriers has a look like this is one of the areas that would be a pro for us is that, for example, I've got a handful of carriers that are top rate. They're not. We always jokingly say they don't probably have to advertise at 3 a.m. They're really good. Again, I can't say names. You can.
Nope.
No, but we work with the top shelf people, and that said, some of my companies I know kill it if you're a roofer. Like if you come to me and you're a roofer, there's like 2 people that we may look at, but I know who's the best. I know who's the Cadillac of the option.
Yep.
And then same thing for our food truck owners or our other, martial arts studios or driving schools or these other kind of niche-based things. Some companies do have specific products for that. But if you're a consignment store, like let somebody shop it around for you. See who's actually playing ball this year. And it might not be who's playing ball next year.
Yeah.
You can figure out who the carriers are and where they want to focus.
Yeah. All right, so everybody has 2 homework assignments. One is call your current insurance agent and make sure you are properly covered. All right, don't go looking for, I can get this for $200. The other guy said $325. No, that's not a solution to your problem. Make sure you're properly covered. If you need Earl if you want to chat with him, we've been putting his number up here. Just ask him a couple questions. I know he'll answer those for you and kind of point you in the right direction. And you may have something better than what he's got, and he'll tell you that. So I know that for a fact. And the other thing, let's find a food truck for Earl to be part of and invest in or maybe start. Because you don't have enough going on. You got a business and only 3 kids. I'm sure you have room for a Saturday food truck at these festivals, right?
Yeah, we've got a couple other things that are coming out hopefully next year. That's going to be a lot of fun too. Time is. I wish there was more of it.
I know, and I would imagine most of your 3 daughters would enjoy being part of that food truck, right?
They might. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
that'd be pretty cool.
One of them will probably want to drive it, first of all.
Yeah, that's undoubtedly.
But anyways, we've been putting Earl's number on the screen here during the show. If you need somebody to just run some things by, give him a call. I know he'll be able to help you. Earl, we've enjoyed it very much. Glad to meet the local folk this week. Well, you one of 3, and I'll try to find the other 2.
I know at least one of them. You got to find the other one.
Okay, good. Well, we're in search of the third real local person. So,
that's right.
anyways, have enjoyed it today. Good luck the rest of the year. And I think I'm seeing you guys on Monday. So I'll be out to see your chapter on Monday. And
awesome.
We will see everybody next time on Triangle B&I.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.
Over at Staples, you can get it shipped and delivered, or you can actually pick it up in store. At least the Staples here in Wilmington's got them in stock, so might be your case depending on where you live. You can check that out for 44% off over at Staples.
Any idea?
And we can't stress it enough. i3-12 Gen, right, is phenomenal, right? It's like it's not a low-end CPU anymore.
No, but I will note that if you're going to buy this computer, you need to upgrade the RAM or you're going to have a bad
RAM.
time.
The fact that they pair it with so little RAM is ridiculous. I agree. They don't sell cell phone with 4 GB RAM anymore. It's like.
So can you also, do you know if you can upgrade the hard drive also?
I'm sure it's an NVMe
So you
drive,
don't
so you
know. Okay.
probably could.
right.
My guess would be you can. Very rarely are those drives soldered in. They're all just using NVMe's because they're so cheap. But you can check out all the specs and all that over at Staples. All right, I dug through the last 7 specials to make sure that this computer was not already in specials in weeks past, and it was not. Gateway is making new computers apparently, because this is the first time this one has popped up. And this is interesting. This is a Windows 11, and Gal, I think you'll find this interesting. This is a Windows 11 computer running a Snapdragon Qualcomm processor. This is not running an AMD
It's an
chip.
ARM-based Windows.
It's an ARM-based Windows computer, which is very interesting. I haven't seen, you see a lot of Chromebooks that run this, but I've not seen Windows
Not for the
computers
past.
that are selling
Windows
this.
has been doing it for the past 3 to 4 years. Windows 10, Windows 11.
It supports it,
Interesting,
but
I
never.
agree.
Yeah, and a lot of the support for that was for devices like Raspberry Pis and BeagleBones so that you could run Windows. But in this case, Gigabyte is selling this. This is a 13.3-inch Gateway laptop. It's running a Snapdragon 850 mobile. It's got LTE built in, so you can get a cell connection for it, which is pretty cool. You can add a line to your smartphone plan, which is part of that Qualcomm Snapdragon processor is the LTE modem built into the computer, which is pretty interesting. 4 gigabytes of memory, 128 gigabytes worth of storage, and it comes with Windows 10S with a free upgrade to Windows 11. This is normally $300, and it is on sale for just $129 over at Walmart. I think it's really cool that it's got a modem. That's a really, really cool feature. It actually, surprisingly, listen to this, Gal, it charges with USB-C, which is pretty interesting.
Hold on. This is a 13-inch, $129
cell phone. yeah, essentially. Now I don't know
running Windows.
Now it's interesting. You mentioned that it's a cell phone. I wonder if you can run the Windows 98 fax program. Still runs on Windows 11, and I wonder if you can use the fax program because technically you will have a phone number.
I think I have an answer. So I was about to say, beware. The fact that it's Windows and still, but running on an ARM architecture means a lot of stuff isn't going to work. Okay, older executables that aren't built for the architecture will not work. You need what will work. Most of what's available on Windows Store on this machine will work. It doesn't mean that if you see it right now on an Intel architecture Windows Store, it'll work. But there are all of the applications that were built with Windows 10, Windows 11 specific technology. They might work because they are .NET based, and .NET can be CPU agnostic. So buyer beware, right?
Yeah. Well,
It's not going to function the same way as a Windows 10 machine on an Intel for a lot of things, but there is still quite a bit that it's going to be very convenient. So you'll be able to browse the network. You'll be able to get pretty much a lot of functionality web-based. You will be able to get some functionality locally on it, but it's not going to be the same. So
you get what you pay for.
This is a very 13-inch, 129. Does it say how much RAM does it have?
4 gigs, and I don't know that it's upgradable. My guess would be it's probably not because it's such a cheap computer. But interesting to note, it does have 351 reviews, and it has a 4.7 star. So this thing is people that are buying it again for the use case of essentially just essentially a Chromebook for all intents and purposes, running Windows.
Windows,
they seem to really like it. Yeah. So it's cool that it's got the LTE modem. I don't know that I've seen that recently in a computer at all because they're not, of course, running Qualcomm chips. But yeah, you could check that out at Walmart. Huh?
Right. So I know Gateway is the purchase. What was it? Asus bought them,
Ace-
and they're
Acer.
Asus, right? And they have a specific licensing deal with Walmart. So I know
Yep.
they're creating all of this for Walmart. And does
Which
Walmart
is
have
fine.
a fake spot?
Yes. Yes.
So I wonder if those reviews are, if they're legit, then
Well,
yeah,
it does say
I
this,
would-
and Walmart has them a lot. It says a lot of these reviews are from Gateway's website, and it says right in the disclaimer, this review was collected as part of the promotion from Gateway's website. So still take that. Here's the thing: it's $129 laptop.
Yeah.
Just
yeah, no, it's low risk. I agree. It's
so yeah, check that out over at Walmart. All right, let's
Awesome.
let's keep rolling here. Next up is the Arcade 1-Up Countercade. So this is what you put on top of a countertop or a table, and they've got a couple of different versions available: Pac-Man, Galaga 88, or Mrs. Pac-Man. This is normally $157, and this is actually over at QVC on sale for $79.98. You can check that out. It comes with free shipping and handling. Next up, if you have a home theater computer, or maybe you have a computer connected to your television and whipping out a keyboard and mouse is just a pain in the rear end. I've used one of these in the past, and I have one. Actually, I lost it, but I had one of these, and I really liked it. I left it somewhere. This is the Logitech K400, which is a relatively small keyboard with a trackpad built right into it. So it's perfect for Raspberry Pis, a MacBook, or an iMac or something like that, where you don't need the whole thing of a keyboard and then having a separate mouse. These are really nice devices. It's normally $28. It's on sale over at Amazon for just $19.99, and it does come with the Logitech. Somebody, God help me out. What is the Logitech dongle called?
unifying
The Unify receiver.
receiver. Yeah.
That Logitech has, so that you can, it'll connect with multiple Logitech devices. So it's got a couple of cool features, built-in volume controls and stuff as well. Check that out over at Amazon.
Is this keyboard the type that can switch between multiple devices, or this is just with the dongle?
Just with the dongle, one device. It is not Bluetooth. It doesn't support multiple devices. Now, it does support multiple devices if you have multiple Unify receivers. You could use it that way. I don't know how the process works.
You need to pair that. It can switch.
Correct.
You can switch pairing always, but yeah, that's the unifying receiver. But yeah,
so it's not some of your cheaper ones that'll connect to 3 or 4 devices, but it is a really
Right.
nice device. I was always happy
agree.
using it. Next up, a Thunderbolt dock. This is a pretty cool. This is an Amazon basic branded Thunderbolt dock, and it's got a couple of cool features on it, including both a full-size micro or full-size compact flash spot and a SD card slot and a micro SD card slot. It's got a combo headphone microphone jack. It's got a 10 gigabit USB or 10 gigabit Thunderbolt pass-through port. It's got a 10 gig USB-C or USB Type A and a 10 gig 1.5 amp charging port. It's also got two ways to display DisplayPort 1.4 and a Thunderbolt that you can use a Thunderbolt to HDMI adapter. Also has an RJ45 built into it as well. So if you have a computer with Thunderbolt and you need a Thunderbolt dock, this dock is normally $230. Thunderbolt docks are very expensive, and it's on sale on Amazon for just $83. It does need to be powered separately. There's a power brick that comes with it. If you have a Thunderbolt computer, you know what this is. You can check this out over at Amazon. Next up, thought this was just kind of a cool deal on sale. No, I'm a little bit of a weather geek. Here is a Von Deer portable radio. It's AM, FM, and weather band, which allows you to tune in the NOAA weather radio stations, which are across the country for emergency alerts. That's between 162.4 and 162.5 megahertz, which is the the weather radio band. This is this device is normally $40. It's got a headphone jack and some other stuff, but this is just a little portable radio. It's on sale for just $10. So pretty hard to beat for an emergency kit, or if you just maybe want an AM or FM radio to have inside the house. This thing is tiny. It's a little bit bigger than the size of a credit card. So this is not a very large device. So you can check that out over at Amazon for just $10.
Nick, is this an emergency, like the stuff that we have, that if there's something going on,
no,
it comes on by itself?
No, it's not going to come on by itself. It's
Okay.
not it doesn't have SAME, which is the SAME is the protocol that's used for emergency alerts, but you can tune into that band and hear those alerts.
Yeah.
So pretty cool device for just $10. All right, next up. No, this is not a bird. It looks like a Seahawk, but it is in fact a wireless router. But it is the Netgear Nighthawk. This is the AXE 7300 tri-band router. You might think, damn, $229, that's pretty expensive. And this is not a low-end, cheap router, but there's a couple of cool features on this that make it neat for the future. It's got 2.5 gig built into it. So you're starting to see some more even middle-tier motherboards, if you're building your own computer, that have 2.5 gigabit networking built right in. That's most standards now are gigabit. This is 2.5 gigabit. So it's got a 2.5 gigabit port, or you can use so it's got a separate 2.5 gigabit port, and you can also trunk two of the ports to act as a 2 gig. So you can essentially trunk two 1 gigabit ports and act as 2 gigs. So you can get 2.5 gigabit port or two 1 gigabit ports aggregated into one link. And it's a Netgear. It's a Netgear Nighthawk router. Netgear makes really, really good routers. And while $229 is still pretty expensive, it's normally $400. So you're saving $175 on that. And Best Buy is already running their Black Friday special. That's what this is part of. So it's got a whole bunch of cool ports on the back. It's a pretty powerful device. Supports it's a tri-band, so 2.45 and 6 gigahertz wireless. They say they offer up